James Gunn might not get everything right, but he's made at least one big decision that's going to make Superman Legacy way better. And it's not the decision to cast Nathan Fillion. I love Nathan Fillion, but how the heck is Guy Gardner going to be the first Green Lantern to hit the big screen in the DCU? No, I'm talking about Gunn's decision to skip the origin story. Because, let's be honest, how many times do we need to see Krypton blow up? How many different ways can Clark Kent discover his powers? At this point, even casual filmgoers can probably recite Superman's origin story in their sleep. We get it. He's an alien. He's raised by a nice little farming couple. He has amazing powers. He becomes the world's greatest hero and maybe has more humanity than humans themselves. And it's not just Superman. You can think of tons of superhero movies, I'm sure, that spent half the runtime of the movie showing us how the character becomes who they are. Batman's parents, gunned down in an alley. Spider-Man, bitten by a radioactive spider. Fantastic Four, well, we don't talk about the Fantastic Four. But we've seen these origin stories so many times that they are predictable and honestly a little boring. Part of the beauty of using these well-established characters is that the origin is baked in, so you can get right to the good stuff. Patton Oswalt, he nailed it. He had a comedy bit talking about the Star Wars prequels. We don't want to see baby Darth Vader. We don't want to see Boba Fett in elementary school. We don't care where the stuff we love comes from. We just love the stuff we love. We don't need to see every painful detail about their childhoods or how they became heroes. We just want to see them be heroes. That's why James Gunn and his decision to skip Superman's origin story and legacy is going to be such a breath of fresh air. He's not going to waste time on scenes we've already seen in countless movies, comics, TV shows. We're not going to have to see like, oh, look, he's really athletically gifted. And look, he's getting a job at the Daily Planet. And gosh, look, he's got to figure out how to blend in. And his adopted dad had a heart attack, or, all that stuff that we've seen over and over again. She's going to dive right in to the stuff that makes Superman super. Gunn has confirmed the movie's going to focus on Superman grappling with his Kryptonian heritage while also sort of coming to terms with his human upbringing. It'll be a story about identity and about being caught between two worlds. That's the kind of depth that we don't always get in a superhero film. And I'm here for it. We're not here for another Krypton flashback. Although, I don't know, a flashback here and there, not the end of the world. But what we're really here for is to see Superman in action. We want to see him be a beacon of hope in a world that desperately needs it. Gunn, gonna skip the obvious stuff, gonna get straight to the meat of it, straight to the character of Superman. And I hope that this decision is going to be part of a larger shift in superhero storytelling. I think filmmakers are starting to realize that audiences don't need the same origin story over and over again. And in general, I mean, how many movies have you seen? Some of the best movies, even outside of superhero movies, even outside of characters you maybe have never even heard of before, they start in the middle of things. And as long as it's done well, you can have exposition through other means, and you don't need to spend the whole third or first act or the first third of the movie building up the character and explaining who they are and everything. Obviously, at least in typical traditional Western storytelling, there's an element of that that's needed to sort of establish that zone of comfort so that we feel kind of identify with the character, get pulled into the story. But you look at the Batman, skipped the origin, and it was all the better for it. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, which is illustrated very well by two times that Marvel skipped the origin story with Spider-Man Homecoming and Black Panther. They were some of their most acclaimed movies, and there's a good reason for it. They got right into the story. Now, part of that may be maybe they skipped the origin because the characters had already been introduced in other movies, and they felt like they had to keep going forward and building up the universe and getting ready for those major crossover movies. But they could have done prequels or something. Thank God they didn't. It also, I mean, it seems like maybe they've learned a thing or two since they began this whole superhero project, because the Fantastic Four first steps will reportedly start after the team has gotten their powers, and it'll start with the Fantastic Four as this active superhero team. And to be fair, I can see why Marvel thought they needed to introduce all those heroes at the beginning, because at the beginning, people weren't really watching superhero movies. We had Blade, we had Batman, but, you know, those Batman movies had kind of hit a nadir, and people weren't really into superhero movies. So they felt like, I guess, hey, they don't know who these characters are. We got to show them. And when done well, that's okay. Like Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, that was good. And it's not awful to have those origin stories. They made it work really well for some of them. I think Iron Man's probably the best example. It was fun watching him turn into Iron Man, but, you know, not always the case. So I think we're bought into superhero movies now. So from now on, let's skip the origin story. Just throw a Wikipedia link in the trailer. Let them figure that part out for themselves. You can artfully weave in information about the character's past. You don't have to spend the first part of the movie just dwelling on their childhood or something like that. Look at the Daredevil series. That was a whole season of TV episodes, and they still only spent really just briefly touched on Matt Murdock's origins. If you look at, so that's good. I like that. Another gold star for Marvel. If you look at Absolute Batman, I think that's one where Scott Snyder, he's doing a great job of introducing the character right in the middle of things, getting to the action, but also dropping back to show you the origin, which of course you need it in that one because it's a whole new origin story. Everything's different in the Absolute universe. And then, in my opinion, you contrast that with Absolute Wonder Woman, and you see we're just kind of getting this like origin dump. It's a bunch of her origin, but it doesn't really tie into the action. There's just too much of it. I just feel like it really breaks up the story and slows things down. What do you think? Are you excited that Superman Legacy will not be another origin story? Do you think more superhero movies should ditch the origin formula? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. And if you know someone who loves superhero origin stories, share this video with them to make them mad.